Emmanuel J. Bequin says, why has SML decided to embarrass this lady on Newsfile today? The struggle to defend this stinking SML deal is real. Dr. Theo Champong says the SML lady on Newsfile has made very little sense in her submissions. The contract should be abrogated, especially for upstream petroleum and mining bits. Oh, I think that the president has said so. Revenue assurance is needed in these sectors, but this is not how to do so. Collins Little Tete says that nothing ripping off the taxpayer will slip through unnoticed. Thank you, Bright Simmons. Selom Domoji says SML sent a rookie as their rep on Newsfile, and she's trying so hard to display her ignorance. The lady can barely speak to the issues of interest. One thing is certain, nothing in SML's case against the Fourth Estate. No, okay, I won't do that. I will stop there. K. Amwa says, according to Sewa of SML, the company can do revenue assurance for Ghana's public service organizations. What are we doing to this country? PK says, Madam Sewa Sapong should be put on the stand to repeat these words, because for the life of me, I can't understand why she thinks putting buzzwords together qualifies SML to be awarded a contract. She was brought to do PR, but we have passed that stage. And finally, Peter Doe says, it appears this whole GRSML annual Ghana 1 billion contract saga, Akufo-Addo and his, don't use those derogatory terms. I will not be a conveyor belt for them. Thank you very much. Ken says, where have they previously put the innovation she's talking about into practice for them to have acquired the experience? Just on paper, if I say, quotes, would be paid, end quotes, and the public decodes it, or you decode it otherwise, why must I be faulted that people understood it to mean I said you have been paid? All right, thanks for all those input. There are too many of your messages on this, but we have to move on with the discussion. And let's listen quickly to the NDC's running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman.
Not in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate. You will find the lack of intimidation of opposing voices. You will find serious investment and practice to enable a digitized economy and society. The reports will go on to point at housing projects, including the famous Saglemi housing complex, and even those that somebody has happily raised to make room for a presumed. John and I have agreed that whoever has participated in the plunder of the state must be held accountable. And my friends, this is not a threat, it is a promise.
Right. So she's been saying a number of things, and people say that she appears to have changed her politics, or is it her rhetoric rather? Let's check if that is the winning game for the NDC. Joining me is Dennis Miracles Abuaje, Director of Communications for Baumia 2024 campaign. And on Zoom is Dr. Theo Champong, Economist and Political Risk Analyst. Let's begin with Inusa Fuseni. Is there anything different you see in her? People appear to say the speech was quite, improved from what she has done previously. She was, as it were, jabbing.
Well, what happened last Wednesday was a celebration of a difference. Her difference, what she brings on board, her vision, and her role in the future NDC government. The articulation of what a woman can do. The fact that in her speech, she concentrated and spoke largely on issues and matters confronting this country, shifting political discourse from personalization and name calling to politics of issues. I have no doubt, and when I sat and listened to her, I've known her for a very long time, even before she came into government as a Minister for Education. I was privileged to be a member of the Ghana UNESCO committee, a representative, that's to say, on the legal committee of Ghana UNESCO committee, and I was with her in France when Professor Mills nominated her to serve on the UNESCO board, and what she did at the board. So I've known her for a very long time. I have never had any doubt about her capabilities and what she brings on board to politics and her contributions to Ghana in general. She's produced many students who are students of repute or people of repute in this country, contributing in diverse ways to the development of this country. Now, so she brought the difference in what we can see in politics on that day. And that's why her speech connected in a very meaningful way with Ghanaians. That, look, I hear many people say and ask questions, what does she bring on board? It is the same Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. I said she brings many things on board, and she even demonstrated it in the 2000 elections. For the first time, NDC won, apart from the time of Rawlings, NDC won majority of seats in the central region. I mean, in the 2000 elections, the only unknown quantity on the NDC ticket was Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. So if I'm speaking mathematically, she contributed because she was the only unknown. Now, NDC recovered from a 106 seats in parliament to 137 seats in parliament. And you think that she played no role? You think so? For the first time in the history of this country, NDC garnered over 6 million votes. Again, the only unknown quantity on the ticket was Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. For the first time in the history of this country, NDC produced a speaker. I mean, she's not a member of parliament, but her contribution to the fortunes of the party manifested in the production of a speaker. And MPP will agree that in the 2000 elections, their votes was significantly reduced, taking 2016 as a benchmark. So she brings a lot on board. And if you are looking at political trajectory and how parties win power, all these matters count. Is the party doing well or not doing well? If the party goes into elections and is not improving on its fortunes, then something is wrong. The party improved on its fortunes in 2020 when Jane Nana came on board. But Jane Nana in 2024 is demonstrating an understanding, an unparalleled understanding of the issues confronting this country. He's deprecating the rampant and pervasive corruption. We just finished with the SML, and you yourself, I could see it on your face, you were quite worried about how SML got the contract and how they went about executing.
There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face.
Well, the manifestation of the mind manifests on the face. So clearly, definitely, And I tell you, Thompson, what a few years ago seemed unimaginable now appears to be inevitable.
You speak to you project her, and John Mahama also said so, that she has a certain global acceptability and that she is a person of unquestionable integrity.
Yes.
You know that in this election you are going into, and the manner in which you project her, she will have to take questions about her stewardship.
Yes.
And you're already projecting that if she became vice president, she will be responsible for, among others, education, social protection, and health. Questions will be asked.
Yes.
What she did with that ministry.
She did a lot. I'm not going to, because she's not running as president, she's running as vice president. I'm not going to even engage in her performance. I say that we are bringing somebody on board who understands our issues and who connects with us. But Professor Jinano Pukajima is available to answer all questions. Her integrity is par excellence. Her reputation for speaking the truth is admired and appreciated by all. In Samson, it is said that truth is never afraid of conversation. Because of her truth, she's not afraid of conversation. So if you bring your issues, she will deal with them as truthfully as she can. And we need such people going forward.
What do you say to your critics who say, if you are projecting her as a woman of unquestionable integrity or unquestioned integrity, you are seeking to say she will make up for the weaknesses of John Mahama?
When we say so, we're seeking to project the strength of a woman. Mind you, Plato had warned us many, many years ago that you cannot seek to develop your community when you keep one half of that community perpetually subjugated. You need to enhance them. You need to manifest them. You need to empower them. When we project Nana, we are projecting womanhood. You need to understand that for a very long time, many people, including deep-seated chauvinists, have said, who is Nana? Some have even gone further to say that a woman cannot rule this country. That's chauvinism, to say the least. They're being chauvinist.
Okay.
So we're just projecting who Nana is. She made a lot of cracks in the ceiling.
Now,
she's going to collapse the ceiling, the glass ceiling now.
Take a breather and hear from those you are contesting. Dennis, you certainly must be thinking how you will answer to a Jenana ticket. Gender issues, equality issues, inclusivity.
Samson, let me say a very warm good morning to you and to Asidia. And I like the energy. It's quite good. And let me also congratulate the NDC. I mean, these things really go to strengthen our democracy. If we look around our sub-region, we can barely find countries who really drive their democracy the way we do. I mean, this is the second outdooring of the running mate of the NDC. I'm sure probably there'll be a third one, and maybe the original one. And I think it's all good. Honestly, it's really, really good because, Samson, for us as a country, in spite of all the challenges, the kind of democracy we have is crucial that we protect. But again, I hear the NDC speak, and I really was very attentive to Honorable Edouce Fuseni, and I'm wondering, what exactly are they projecting onto us as a people? We have our ambitions and aspirations as a country, and what we are looking for as results, as solutions to these teething challenges that we every day strive to get ourselves out of. So for us, if you're going to give us a leader, and you're going to project the leader onto us. Tell us cogently, specifically, without any ambiguity, what that person brings to the table to solve our problems for us. That is it. Without that, the fact that the person is a woman or a man means nothing to us. The fact that the person is tall or short doesn't mean anything to me. Fair or dark means nothing. Ever, Gan, Ashanti, Achim means nothing. I want solutions. I want an educational system that would ensure that no child of mine is left at home.
They say she was she's the first woman vice chancellor of a public university.
If it doesn't give me access to education, it means nothing. They are accolades to herself, her family, and her political party. We want solutions, Samson. And so after they've done all these self-aggrandizements for 2-3 days, it's time for them to drop it. And let's talk about substance. Let's go into the issues. It's very important. I mean, Professor Nana is an academic professor, a vice chancellor. It's no shock if she's able to stand in front of a crowd and deliver a speech. It's nothing new. That's what she does her entire life. Show her that respect. Give it to her. That's her job. Every day, that's what she does. And so if she stands on a stage and delivers, kudos to her. But how does that cure the fact that when she was education minister, she led the cancellation of allowances for the poor? How does that change it? How that does change the fact that when she was education minister, schools did not have even chalks, to the point that the second lady, the wife of our former vice president, His Excellency Ebisata, had a cause to stand in front of the full glare of the camera and say that we will not give you chalks today, we will not give you chalks tomorrow if you teachers cannot use your money to buy the chalks. That for me are the conversations that the Ghanaian people want to hear. They want you to give us that reassurance that how you conducted yourself when we gave you this same role, you will do better. And you would first of all show us your scorecard and tell us how you intend not to repeat any of the things we did not want. It's not enough for an opposition party to come and list the sins and the ills of an incumbent. There is no incumbent government that you cannot list sins and ills. What you do is that beyond the sins, the listing of the sins and ills, give us what your alternative is. And disappointedly so, she missed the mark. She missed that big opportunity to make that lasting impact on the minds of Ghanaians about who she represents and how she intends to work with the president to take us to the level that we want to get to.
She did.
That mark she missed. For example, so she speaks and I have the statement here. So you'd realize that from the day she spoke till now, all we hear is that she spoke very well. She's an improvement over 2020. You can realize that she's becoming a politician. She's articulating. Is that what we are looking for?
Bawumia went through the same phase.
But that's not. Bawumia was articulating policies.
He went through the same phase.
No, we never projected Bawumia.
It took him a while.
We never.
Before he began his lectures.
We never projected Bawumia as an orator. We never said, oh, he's spoken so well. We said, Bawumia says when he comes, he's going to work with Nanado, so we get one ambulance, one constituency. Why? Because we believe that our emergency services are poor. Bawumia says that we need to drive the fundamentals of the economy to reduce our dependence on imports. And so we need to increase production. When we come, we would work with private sector to ensure that districts are harnessing on their raw materials to get factories in those districts. Bawumia says that when we come to power, we believe that as a country, we cannot continue to churn out young people onto the street without quality education. So he says, I'll support my president, we'll deliver free senior high school.
She speaks about shared prosperity.
But you don't
how
remember
we need to sacrifice and work to get to that.
Perfect. But you don't recall nobody.
And it is important. You know that. You of all people know that how fluent you are in making your presentations in the political campaign is very important.
That's the point.
When Bawumia was first outdoored, I was embedded in his team. And we went around the country before I moved from his team and joined Nanado's team. One of the concerns was that he was not able to project properly until the next time round. Then he took everybody by storm. and you guys celebrated it.
No. Never did we celebrate and project Bawumia onto the people of Ghana in a manner that says that here we are with the vice president that speaks so well. We never did that. What we did is what I've told you. Bawumia came in with solutions specific to our challenges. Now you have to dig into the speech to find some of the things she said. Why? Because they've clouded the entire conversation with she spoke well, she was throwing jabs, and you remember your introductory statement to him. That's what you recall. And I'm sorry, it's not just you. The millions of Ghanaians watching us, some say that's what they recall. And it's sad, it's unfortunate that we have a running mate that is seeking to support a presidential candidate, and all we can recall 3-4 days after her speech is how good she was in throwing jabs, throwing shades, and oratory skills. That is a problem. And I'll come to some part of the statement that maybe they themselves have refused to highlight, which is of substance to the people. And I'll concentrate on that. So she says that in their government, they are going to ensure that by the time they are leaving office, and she said, I envisage a report of the administration of His Excellency John Mahama on the ticket of the NDC, who justifies his return. He says the report will have no reference to the following. Then she lists all the ills of the MPP government. Fantastic. But you know what? She missed the point. You have been president before, and you were Minister of Education under that presidency. The people of this country are skeptical. They are wondering, what new are you coming to? What new thing are you coming to do? How do we trust that whatever it is that you did to us, you will not repeat? Indeed, there is a government that has given us electricity for 7 years, but has plunged us into energy difficulties for 10 weeks. So we have a choice to make. Something we need to make a decision between two governments who have history of energy crisis.
But you inherited a resolved energy crisis. We never
crisis. Did. How do you get into a difficulty of something that is resolved? How? What are you talking about?
You told us actually about excess capacity.
Rollins, hold on. Rollins, tell me from 1992, which of the government hasn't seen energy crisis? And which of them never said we resolved it? Tell me. The difference between the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Bawumia government is that this government kept energy on for 7 years. No government has done that since 1992.
But there were capacity issues. And the John Mahama regime is the one known to have gotten us to a point where you said now there is excess capacity.
The population in 1992 and the capacity then, have you ever run the correlation to understand how many we were and the capacity we had then? Have you ever done that correlation to understand? So, no, Samson, let me make that point. It's very important. Have you ever done that analysis to understand where we were in the time during Kufuor we had a crisis and where we were under Mahama when we had the crisis? The fact is that you had generators and yet we're in darkness. Does it make sense? Have you ever thought about that? That you keep making the argument about capacity, which is true. Indeed, a lot of generators were borrowed and taken on credit, which we are still paying, no doubt about that. But ask yourself, how come we had all these generators during the tenure of John Mahama and yet we're in darkness? That had always been our point, that the energy crisis under Mahama was purely a financial issue. Why? Because you had borrowed generators, you didn't have to do much, because all you had to do is to go and tell the people that bring it to me, whether I use the power or not, I'll pay you. And then they come and put it there on credit. Then you don't have the money to buy the power, the fuel to power it. And so, indeed, the fact is that for 3 years out of your 4 years, we were plunged in darkness. For 7 years out of the 8 years, we've had power except for 10 good weeks. Let me make this. So the people of Ghana have a decision to make.
Okay.
A decision between a party that plunged us into darkness for 3 out of 4 years and one that has given us power for 7 years, and we are difficult for 7.
Now hold that there. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you as you go into the specific issues. Because I'm not done. Yes, Dr. Theo Champong, what will you say? Is Dennis justified in saying, yes, we got sound bites. Beyond that, no substance?
There definitely were sound bites. As we say, she threw some shades, right, quote and unquote. But there were substantive issues that she also raised, and I'll come to that in a moment. But I think Dennis made an important point on the energy sector being a financial issue. During the GM administration, And the interesting thing is that the current doom that we're going through is also a financial issue.
Absolutely.
The money were there to buy the fuel to actually power some of those plants. We wouldn't be going through the current doomsday or power rationing that we're having for the last couple of weeks. So it's important to situate things in the right context. I think, yes, the woman spoke very well, and she came across, at least for those of us who may not be as close to her as Honorable Fuseni and others, compared to 2020, she came across as being much more, assertive and direct in her posture and in the things that she was saying. And she spoke to the issues that, Ghanaians sort of care about in that respect. Number two, she's also a known face, or has been a known face, and she's been marketed once before as the running mate of John Mahama, and this then sort of adds the further credence into that direction going forward. The question now really for me becomes, to what extent would this translate into votes, particularly in some of the core coastal constituencies or regions that could decide the outcome of the 2024 election. So here I'm talking specifically about Western North, Central, and Greater Accra. And then when you also look at the other demographics that she spoke to directly, the women and then also the youth. So she at one point even, I think, asked whether the youth were in the room, and she got some response to that.
Maternity leave and the women's bank.
If you look at the women's vote, I mean, on the 2020 records, it's about 52% out of 17 million, valid voters in the country. Of course, she's not going to get all of that. But again, the question remains whether or not in the next few months to come, she will be able to posture herself enough to attract a lot of that vote. And then when you look at the youth vote, which for me I'm even more interested in, that if you've got 74% of your population below the age of 35, and for those that are actually voting based on the 2016 and the 2020 data, about 62-65% of that voting population of bloc is the youth vote. Then again, it becomes quite interesting to see to what extent this new assertive or bold Nana that we're seeing in the public domain. I'm not saying that she's not in her private life, but I'm saying in terms of the posture and the political communication and the rhetoric, it comes across that, she's being presented to us as this, new entity. So again, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think one other thing that was sort of missing, and then I'll come to the policies that I think she talked about, which Dennis has not highlighted. And I mean, he's from the other side, so that's to be understood. And then for those of us who are in the civil space academic, our job is to interrogate, both. But I didn't see a defense of her track record in government then, and then also as Minister of Education, using some of the metrics like, the enrollment ratio or the provision of input and all of that. I thought that she could have brought a little bit of that into the conversation just to pivot and to tell Ghanaians, what then she's bringing to the ticket, because some people may have forgotten, and it's important to do that. But on the specific policy issues, there are some things that are mentioned in her speech. So she talks about, or gives a bit more context to the 24-hour, economy. And I think she mentioned somewhere in the speech that they will pay special attention to skill training, and that they would be, in the Tree language, quote unquote, insano, ejuma. And so they would do a number of reforms within that space. And related to that, also introduce a 1 million coders, program, which would allow a number of the youth into things like coding, data science, and other fields. I mean, this is not that different from some of the interventions that are already happening in the space under the current, administration. And then she also talks about prosecuting, corruption and people that have squandered the resource wealth and other things. So there are a number of things in there that she talks about, but fundamentally, the point now really becomes to what extent in the next 4 or 5 months would this then translate, right, into potential votes? Because at the end of the day, despite the outdooring, despite what we've seen, it has to translate into the incremental votes that the NDC is looking for. So it's going to be a very interesting and exciting campaign. And I think really by August or September, we would really know who is going to win this election.
Right. But it will matter who will partner Bawumia. So we may have to be patient to watch who will partner Bawumia before we continue in this trajectory. Please hold on. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. Now, so you would have expected that. I didn't have to tell you that your opponents will dig into what she had done, her previous life, to measure whether, how much we should take what she says. They've just started.
Well, I expected that, but I never expected Dennis to go through that route. But he's going through that route has exposed me to the understanding of to how MPP understands governance. They understand governance in silos. Bawumia should come with its vision. Akufo-Addo came with his vision. So governance is not a manifestation of the collection of the wishes of the people reflected in the party's manifesto. That's what I listened to him, that's what I came to. That is their understanding of governance. That's not governance. And that's why we have this problem. That is why Bawumia is running away from the deeds of Nana Akufo-Addo.
How has he done that?
He's done that by saying that he was not in the front seat. He's done that. But as a lawyer, that the Constitution,
he has shown you how
the Constitution makes the vice president an elected vice president.
He has told you how he would do certain things differently. And that's a fact. That constitutionally, he doesn't have the power to do the things you expected that he would have done.
Yeah, but the constitutionally doesn't have the power to do, and he knew that as a vice president. He doesn't have that power. Authority power rests in the executive, and the executive arm of government is equated to the president. I mean, if you read Article 58
Correct.
and 296, you will be left in no doubt.
Correct.
I have no doubt about that. But you also know that severally, Bawumia has acted as president of this country. Severally. That to tell you that our system recognizes the role of a vice president in keeping the country together. Now, but I won't go that. I won't engage in debate. He's talked about Chalk. Chalks, let me tell you, if Chalks were a political campaign, in 2022, it was reported, and it was reported by your sister station, Adum FM, of shortage of chalk and other learning materials hit schools. If chalks were the standard, I don't think MPP would be excused from that ballet, because that's 2022. He also
so she can be excused. That's what you're saying.
He also displays a remarkable lack of understanding of our energy situation in this country. Dennis displays that.
Really?
Yes. Energy consumption is tied to population. There's a direct relationship between population and the amount of energy available. So the installed energy we had when we went national grid and the installed energy that we have today has increased because of population.
Yeah, that's the point I made.
No, let me talk.
That's what I understood.
Please.
That's what I understood.
No, he's not saying. He didn't say that.
Okay.
Oh, let me tell you why he didn't say that.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
No, he didn't say that.
I was surprised.
That's what he thinks he said, but
No,
he didn't
you got
say
it
that.
wrong. That's
No,
what I said.
please.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, it's fine.
We've had governance in this country. NDC, MPP, NDC, MPP. Increase in energy, installed energy, is by investment in thermal plants. tell me one thermal plant that President Kufuor had set up in the 8 years of his administration, or Nana Akufo-Addo has set up in his 7 years of administration. Give me one.
You are discounting Bui.
Bui was not built by Nana Kufuor.
How?
No, Kufuor I was the deputy minister of energy. Bui was not built by Kufuor. Kufuor got $160 million to start Bui. Not even 5% of the work of Bui had been done. I mean, if you are going to say that, then you say that Kong. If you are going to say that, then you say that Kong was built by Kong thermal plant was built by Kufuor.
Okay.
So if you then let me demonstrate for you too. If you say that there were machines, that's what he said. There were machines. You then needed money to put fuel in those machines. I say that in 2012, the installed capacity of this country was 2,600. Between 2,600 and 2,800. Today, the installed capacity of this country is 5,626. The consumption, even if John Mahama did not do anything at all, the power would not have been able to go around.
Okay, thank you.
Because today we are consuming 3,251 megawatts at peak. So it's the incremental installation of power plants that has gotten us here.
Thank you.
You have not done any power plants.
You hear from Theo Champong, and he shows you that substance. He has some things, even though he sounds like he would have wished to have had more. I don't know if I'm not projecting you correctly. You can explain.
That's all I'm talking about. I mean, what Theo said is all I am talking about. That here we are. Theo, I know Theo very well. Theo digs into issues. And Theo struggled to mention more than two. Really? Theo managed to mention 24-hour economy, which is even poorly still explained by the running mate. And then goes on to mention what's the other thing?
Nsanu Ejuma.
And then there was another one Theo mentioned. Prosecution. That he prosecute. I mean, these are the two things Theo mentioned when he was supposed to mention.
He mentioned other things which he says they are already
and you can imagine
being pursued now.
Connected to the 24-hour economy. And you can imagine the struggle they are putting Theo in. Because Theo Achiampo that I know should have these things on his fingertips in the way there. That is not even the point. The point is that why aren't the NDC projecting those things on us? Why are they projecting poetry and oratory skills on us? That is our problem. The woman herself, the professor, and I said this because I find it very disrespectful to her. The manner in which they are trying to make it look like she's done something extraordinary from what she was supposed to have done. The woman herself has a track record listed clearly, categorically in her handing over report. And then the woman said, when we are leaving power, we are going to have a report that will not have this, that will not have that, that will not have that, mention all the ills. What she should have done is to tell the Ghanaian people that when I was leaving, I left a report, and this is directly from her handing over notes. I left a report that indicated that I had not paid for 2014-2016 feeding grants to our schools, 106.69 million. I left a report that said that I had not paid subsidy to the senior high schools for 2014 and 2016.
Is that Ministry of Finance's job or Education?
No, that is her job. She receives the resources and she needs to align the resources.
Educhum presently faces some of the financial difficulties. You won't blame it on him because he's not the one
Educhum would
to pay.
Educhum would account for his stewardship. So let her account. Why didn't she leave this for Finance Ministry to put in their handing over report? This is her scorecard, and I'm not even done. She should have told the people that when I come, I will no longer leave over 100,000 Ghanaians out of senior high school every year for poverty and lack of infrastructure. And tell us how she's actually going to achieve that. Because her handing over report is here. She should tell us how she's not going to leave 33.4 million that was supposed to be paid for progressive senior high school education, and she didn't pay. She should have told us how. She built a day school 5 kilometers away from Asasewa. No communities around the day school for the people of Upper Menya. A day school. How she expected these students to move from Asasewa Township and walk 5 kilometers to that school, and how she's not going to inflict on us all these damages again.
So we have
something. There are 78 points in her report that I thought that what she should have done is to tell the people of Ghana that I'm here again. This is what I did when you gave me the power.
Should be vice president.
But I promise you,
not for a ministry.
If I make you class prefect and you come to me that you want to be school prefect, I have to check how you performed as class prefect.
Interesting.
That is why Dr. Mahmoud Bamiyan, when he's speaking, outlines all the things that he has been mandated to do by the president, and he has done it very, very well before he moves to his vision. Final point, just 2 seconds. You recall when Dr. Mahmoud Bamiyan speaks about all the things he's done, they will say, go and mention the other things. But you heard the former president indicate categorically sectors that he's going to assign to the vice president.
That's right.
If the vice president is the same as the president, why is the president saying that he will assign sectors to him?
Right. Theo, we have just about a minute to go. What will be your very final comment? And as always, my outfits these days is by Konati Clothing. You can find them at Adenta Shopping Center, Adenta Down. You can call Konati Clothing 0244 67 67 32. Hello, Dr. Champon.
Something very interesting. I just want to pick from where Miracles left off, right? In the sense that 2024 is the same standard that he's talking about is what will be used to judge all the candidates.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a question or an election based on trust, number 2, credibility, and number 3, competence. And Ghanaians will make a choice on the basis of this. The last small point I want to make also is the attempt to pivot her away from also all this other conversation about EMT and all of that, that she's going to have a direct oversight of the social sectors, health, education, social protection, and things like that. And I think that's also a very good thing to note, because it goes really to some of the reforms and other things that we've been advocating for.
Thank you very much. And this show is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165 *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Syntex Tanks is strong, it's tough. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. And DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. And my guests have been Dr. Theo Champong, economist and political risk analyst. Inus of Seni is lawyer and former MP, and also former minister. Dennis Miracles Abuaje is director of communications for the Baumia 2024 campaign. I'm Samson Ladia Yenini. Have a good afternoon.